All right, thank you for staying with the Monday Report Town Hall session. The debate was even much more heated during the break, but we are back now. We'll be civil people. Decorum will be observed. We'll air our views and still stay as friends, all right? We'd like to hear from you as well. 22422, that's SMS line. At Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Hashtag Monday Report. Let us know whether the BBI captured your aspirations and what more would you have liked to see. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, and what you'd have liked to see. It's three simple things, all right? I'll open the floor for questions, but Arnold, you wanted to jump in real quick before we start.
I needed to actually talk about a few things. Number one is representation. If anyone has ever doubted the importance of representation, BBI is your answer, in that there was no young person in the BBI report, and therefore it reflects at how BBI looks at young people. When young people say there is nothing for us without us, how BBI looks like is exactly what they talk about. The other thing is that the tragedy of the politics in this country is that normally we decide what to support and the reasons to why we support them come later. So already the framing, and the media is actually playing this up, the framing around BBI is, if you support BBI, you are pro the handshake. If you ask questions, you are tanga-tanga and the other people. It's not giving room for a third opinion. And that is the tragedy, because there are a lot of other people with different opinions and they do not ascribe to either of those. A lot of people are not able to take positions because if you take positions, you are owned by one of those particular ends or you are associated with them. So people are afraid.
You're here now, where would you stand?
That's what I'm saying. So where I stand, I will actually come to that very, very fast. But it's important that we actually get moving. The BBI proposals will only excite a person who has not been interacting with the policy, especially on young people. There are better proposals on how you can deal with the youth proposal. Just the other day, we have got the youth policy that was passed by the cabinet. There is a whole policy paper that was done by the cabinet. I'm talking about a sessional paper. Yeah. Was done. It goes into details. They have refused to do that. And I need to move very fast and say this. Trevor, when we're talking about young people, probably these young people might not have followed up. But for 5 years, this particular administration refused to give money to youth officers. For 5 years, they just remembered youth officers last year. For 5 years, youth empowerment centers were churches. They were turned into churches and other places, bats lived into those youth empowerment centers. Did that government need a handshake to do the right thing? It didn't. For almost 6 years, this government refused to have a proper youth department. They were playing around. There are a lot of jokes around the youth function in this government. There is a youth advisor at the Ministry of Public Service and Youth. There is a youth advisor at the Deputy President's office. There is a youth advisor at the presidency. There is a youth secretary. There are a lot of jokes around the issues about young people, and it was not about the lack of a handshake or a BBI report. Yeah. It was a government that was not interested with young people. For the last 7 years, this government has killed the National Youth Council, which is supposed to be the voice of young people. Okay. What has stopped this government, for example, from doing elections for young people at the National Youth Council? The last time we did elections in the National Youth Council was in 2012. Up to now, this government has done nothing. They are just going round and round. Did they need a handshake for that? No. They have stolen money. They have got a lot of money for other things except for young people. But this government came to power flying on the wings of young people. They spoke about digital versus analog. People who were brought to power using the names of young people. Young people have suffered under this administration more than they suffered under Kibaki. In Kibaki's administration, there were people who were under 35. I'm talking about Ababu, I'm talking about Kingi, and so many others. And Kibaki is an ancient of days, an old man of very many days. But he saw the potential of young people. Okay. Uhuru Kenyatta is younger. Okay. But in his cabinet, there are no young people either as a PS or a CS. Right. He has created a lot of jobs. Yeah. He has killed the youth sector, and he's very comfortable. He's telling us that BBI will settle that. Okay. Keter, very briefly, before I open the floor.
In terms of inclusion, in the National Assembly, I'm the only one representing the youth. Maybe it is something that we need to take note. And if you look at even the conversation that is taking place with the BBI, and I've talked about when a bad system is there, it can defeat even the good person. When we discuss about inclusion, and we questioned, as my friend had actually highlighted earlier, we questioned. Press conferences were called, letters were sent, question were actually asking that committee that where are the young people here? And the answer that came was very, very wrong. It means that as young people...
What did they say?
Someone mentioned that these young people are not organized and they need to be put in their corner, and even if they come, they will not add any value. That is a position they have placed us in. So, what I actually wanted to share, what I wanted to inform the young people, because we are here because of BBI and the youth, and what has been captured in that report that can actually reflect our interest. Because if I was asked, I will say, what makes a young person happy? Is it a position of a prime minister? Is it a position? Is it only entrepreneurship, as one of my friends has highlighted? Is it only taxation? Because if you ask many of the young people across the country, you can find in a family, all children have master's degree and none has gotten a job. Parents have sold their cows, they have sold land with the hope that these young people will one day come home and be able to replace what they... Because if we are to design a new Kenya, what will we want to see? A free, a country that is free from corruption. We want to see a very good infrastructure. Yeah. We want to see education. We know we talk about 100% transition, but still, among the young people here, there's still those young people who are suffering from the factor that you have never picked your certificate in primary school or in high school based on several issues. Yeah. So when we talk about BBI and the youth, we were given a raw deal. It was not captured well. When it talks about inclusivity, for me to be there in Parliament, there was a process that I need to undertake to be there. And that is why through the political parties, I expected some comment to do about how are we going to strengthen the political parties, youth leagues, so that my friend like him can be able to exercise his democratic right to be voted via a political parties and to be in Parliament, and so that we can have a larger representation. Okay. Those are the kind of issues that I know we were expecting to see. If we wanted to be happy as a young person, you want to see how you're going to help those young people in your village. Because when you're in Nairobi here, dependency ratio. Yeah. You find someone who just cleared Form 4, feeds the family. You find someone, even in high school, they get out of school, they go and hawk, so that they can get a little money to support the family. All right. Those are the issues that we need to actually look at it. Finally, very briefly. Implementation. Okay. We talk about implementation, or we need to form a task force. Trust me, even in that task force, no young person will be there. Okay. In that task force, no one will be there. And then we have a problem with human capital. Okay. In this way. For a long time, we have policies, we have rules, we have things in paper, but when it comes to implementation, no one implements it. Okay. That's where the problem is. All right. Say, I'll come to you in just a bit. Let's get to some views back there. There's a microphone. Yes. Keep your comments very brief. If it's a question, just ask so that we get as many as we can. Yeah, okay, go ahead. My name is Anne Wamboi from the National Youth Council. Swali langu ni rahisi tu. Mnasema BBI iko hapa. Mimi nimerepresent youth wengi. Huyu youth, hii BBI imekuja na kizungu. Yeye hajui kusoma. Ako pale, hana kazi. Ako na njaa. Urudi umwambie hii BBI soma. Wacha nikwambie mheshimiwa. Mtakuja mtapita. Ukiwa na shilingi 100 utampatia. Kwa nini? Ako na njaa. Atachukua hiyo pesa ataweka kwa mfuko. They are into drugs, mogoka. Atakula, ataona hiyo BBI iko sawa. Kesho tukiamka tukienda referendum, hiyo BBI iko sawa. What we'll do, we'll die. Sisi youth wenyewe tunajiua. Kwa nini? Huyu kijana kama hana kazi, hata kuwa na wakati wa kusoma. Kitu ingine, mama mboga, single mothers, wanafungua biashara. Huyu mama hatafunga biashara ili aweze kusoma hiyo BBI. So tunaweza himiza, tafadhali, hiyo civil education ikuje pale kwa grassroots. Okay. Yes. Pass the microphone to her if you have a comment or question. If you don't, just pass it in front. Let's hear what you have to say. Yes, go ahead. Okay, I'm Victor Sijen, a youth advocate. So I realized that the BBI have only mentioned youth in 2 areas. The first area was
when they were saying the betting and the how do you call it? No, they're not the entrepreneur, the lottery. They want to convert the betting into a lottery for the government. Another one where I thought was like almost for the youth was for the whistleblowers, which I think largely done by the youth. All that, the way they were gauging now the youth who are in that figure, you just see the kind of a picture they give to the youth.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Pass the microphone to him. Let's hear what your comment or question is.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
I'm Elena Nanyu. I can say that the BBI does not represent the youth, as in it's only maybe 10% if there is any. Because if you see most of first, as you others said, that the BBI, the people who are in the committee, there are no youth. Why? Because the youth are not represented, and also the public participation. The youth are not involved in anything that they have been done in Kenya.
Okay.
So if I can say that the BBI does not include youth in anything, and the implementation of the BBI will not come. It's just but a song I'm singing that, as she said that it's a succession, it may be like that.
All right. Please tell me what you'd like to see as the youth as well. As you mentioned that the BBI doesn't work for you, just tell me what you'd like to see as well, very briefly. Go ahead.
My name is Nicholas Kimanzi. I'm the President Economic Liberation Front. The Englishman said that garbage in, garbage out. And truly speaking, when you look at the composition of the task force itself, what do you expect? Do you expect something that is friendly to youth? The answer is no. And today, as per the census, I mean, we're told that 65% of Kenyan population is youth. And yet, 100% of the task force was actually older men. Okay. Who needs this BBI? Is it the older men or the youth? Who are the future of this country? Okay. Because whatever they were saying or they were collecting views was about the future of this country. Okay. Who are the youth?
What would you have liked to see?
Now, I would have liked to see this. Yeah. First of all, this country is going through a lot of economic challenges. And the most hard people, the most people that have been hit hard are the youth. Because it is the youth that needs the money. Because the older people have already gone through education, they have invested, and they are in old age. Okay. They're actually enjoying their retirement, yet the money is going to them. Now, the economy needs to be rebalanced. So that at the end of the day, if we are going to have 10 shillings that are collected by the KRA, then 65% of 10 needs to be directed to issues that concern the youth. Okay. Because at the end of the day, if we don't do this, we are not doing anything or any favor. And finally, the agriculture is the backbone of this economy. Now, the young people do not get involved in agriculture. Okay. We have not seen the task force talking about how they are going to make agriculture more attractive to youth. Okay. You know, mechanize this agriculture, because youth want to do their thing. They want to pay online. They want to use some mechanics, you know, to plow and do one or two things. So, in a sense, this report is not for the youth.
Understood. Let's go. You have the microphone here, then we'll come to you. Very brief so that we get as many comments as we can.
All right. I'm Kiriago Machoka, hopeful MP for North Mugirango. And I'd like to give my sentiments before I give an inner eye by saying that BBI is a good initiative as it incorporates the youth tremendously and introspective. Thereby, we should support the BBI, but then there are some challenges that should be sought out. For example, in Chapter 7 of the BBI, it talks about MCAs managing the bursaries. I could like to say that at this age in time, we should not be talking about bursaries in the BBI. Bursaries should have been addressed by the Constitution under the right to education. Every child in Kenya has a right to education. And BBI, by now, it should have mentioned that education should be free from nursery school to the bachelor's degree.
Okay.
And I would like to quote my Embakasi Member of Parliament, Honorable Babu Owino. He always says that education is a key to success. And there is no way a government can make us pay for the education, and it's a key to success.
All right.
So we should get free education, no help, no payment of help.
Okay. Okay, pass the microphone back there, and then Jerotich, you wanted to jump in. I still have one more break, and kindly keep your comments brief so that we get as many people as we can. Jerotich, you wanted to jump in before I take a quick break.
Yes, I wanted to say that I first of all really appreciated the input during the break, which of course our viewers did not happen to see. And one of the things that I am understanding, and I want to encourage everyone who is no longer in that bracket called youth, is to listen, and to listen with a high level of humility and openness. Because if we are not willing to listen, we cannot learn. We talk down at, we patronize, we impose on. In fact, when my young brother there was saying all the 9 areas that the BBI was supposed to look at, my challenge back to him would be, why are you waiting to be told what they should mean to you as young people? You see, and it's because you have been told from the time you are young, do this, do that, be like this, go like that, go to school, go there. It's a violent system of suppression and oppression of the views of young people. You're talking about youth leagues. Do we need youth leagues or old people's leagues? Who is the majority in this country in political parties? In fact, this marginalization and exclusion of young people, let me remind you, Martin Luther King was how old when he was assassinated? 39. So we quote him liberally all over the world, and he was a young person when he did what he was doing. The Bible even says, do not let people despise you because of your youth. Kenya is violent. If it's not a policeman beating you half to death, or somebody hacking off a young woman's hand at Kibabi University and raping her and leaving her for dead, if it's not depression, if it's not sadness, if it's not loss of parents, if it is not HIV and AIDS, if it is not homelessness, if it is not HELB that's eating people's heads, young people are under siege in Kenya. And the only constructive conversation we can have about youth liberation and youth emancipation is one that is led and driven by young people and young people only. I should step down, sit there, and let one of you come up here. And to allow yourselves to continuously be despised by this regime is, as one of, I think my sister said, this is part of history. This is all about succession. This is about the only young people in Kenya who will benefit from BBI are the children of the dynastic political class who are trying to continue to benefit. And as I said honestly, my father was one of the task force members, and I took him to task at the very beginning when they were gazetted. And I said, dear father, with all my respect and love, where are the young people in your group? They were called, they were given a task, they performed it, they gave a report. And I told him from the beginning that, dear father, you may have a problem because you will not be incorporating completely the views of young people. And one point I want to make about corruption. I was appalled. There's a lot of language in the BBI. We have to fight cartels, we have to stop this, we have to resist corruption, all of that. My biggest point of disappointment is the incentivization of integrity. The fact that the only way you can blow the whistle on somebody is if you're going to get 5% back shows us that we have a country where values have eroded beyond belief. We should be able to be people of integrity without being paid to tell the truth and to blow the whistle. So my only encouragement back to young people is BBI notwithstanding, Sustainable Development Goals notwithstanding, Big Four notwithstanding, Vision 2030 notwithstanding, TJRC report notwithstanding, Kriegler, Waki, blah, 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 Harambe, Nyayo, Tujenge Nchi. these things will never do anything for young people until young people themselves choose to rise up. When I say rise up, am I here about to lead a rebellion? Maybe not, because I'm not leading that rebellion. Young people should lead that rebellion. Tell us what to do. When I was a young person, I fought for my space. I was given space. In many cases, as a woman, I didn't get the space I was looking for. But you fight and you push and you talk. Okay. And don't let anyone shame any young person for not having read the report. We have so many other things to do in our lives and not read 156 pages of something that was designed to allow one or two people to continue to remain in power.
All right. And on that note, I really have to take a quick break. When we come back, I'll hear from the back bench really briefly because we are really pressed for time. And then I'll take closing remarks from my panelists. We're back in just a bit. Keep your views coming as well. 22422, that's SMS line at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Hashtag Monday Report. See you in a bit.